And we're back again, representing CMD, another Camden production. It's the Behind the Gloves podcast, and it's part 2 of the series. Last we had a great interview, and this is not going to be any different. Introducing, we have Shawn Butler from the city of Camden. Coach Shawn, one-hitter quitter, whatever you want to call him. Coach Shawn's Ring King Juice, that's him and I. We have a Sea Moss Juice. Great to see you, good brother, as I always see you.
Appreciate the opportunity.
So what you do here in the city of Camden?
So I am a jack of many trades, but for the most part, I coach boxing here at the North Camden Boxing Gym. I mentor youth. We do youth boys from 8 to 18. And I do just a men's talk group with just senior men, senior citizen men. We meet every other Tuesday and just talk about issues that senior men would deal with just in the neighborhood.
You know, what is your main focus here when you do the boxing?
So my main focus here, well, the number one priority of any boxing coach is the safety of his fighter. And I take that a step further. I not just teach them boxing in the gym, I try to teach them life in real life. Life is a battle, life is a fight. And so I teach character, dignity, respect. This boxing gym is my sanctuary. You know what I mean? When you come in the boxing gym, just the atmosphere of the gym, but this is our home. So I want my young fighters to feel comfortable here, feel like you're part of the family. And so one of the main things I teach is respect for everybody here. You know what I mean? These are your brothers, these are your sisters. This is your family. And so you respect family, you respect our home. And if nothing else, man, most of these kids, quite frankly, most of these kids will probably not be professional fighters, but if I can pour something into them in the time that I have them, now make no mistake about it, we do have some great potential. A lot of these kids can be. We have champions here, but the masses of the kids who come here, for the most part, I get parents who come here and say, Coach, man, my son he's dealing with anger problems. A lot of single moms saying, the dad's not in the picture, and I just need something for him to do to get him off the game.
So where did this start with you? This work ethic and this philosophy that you put into the youth here?
Really, man, just being, they used to call Camden Soup City. I'm just a Soup City snot nose. I'm just a poor boy from Camden.
I like that. I never heard that before, Soup City.
Yeah. So man, typical story, grew up in the streets of Camden. My story is no different from any other boy here. Fatherless situation. As a matter of fact, I think I told you before, the last conversation I had with my dad was, I'm not your father, your mother's a whore and doesn't know who your father is.
That's hard body. That's fighting.
Yeah, and so I understand that most of these young men who come in here are really just looking for a man to affirm them, to say, hey man, listen, I see you, I love you, and my hand is stretched out if I can do anything for you.
Well, I mean, that's even fine. I just want to focus on you right now. And that story you said, maybe go even further into it as far as like, how was that? You know what I mean? And I know like Camden's a tough town. Did it take you to situations where you had a lot of anger and you was fighting, stuff like that? But just how to get you into those types of situations?
Who was it? James Baldwin said to be black in America is to be angry. And so all of us, man, are dealing with anger. You know what I mean? Anytime you're dealing with poverty, anytime you're dealing with subpar education, anytime you're dealing with a high crime situation, it's impossible to not feel angry because you are a product of your environment. Real short story, if you ask two twin brothers, both raised in the same house by the same father. One is a successful man, family man, good, hardworking man. The other one is just an alcoholic and a bum. If you ask each brother, why did you turn out the way you did? Each would say, because of my father. And so you could take the hurt and the pain and the absenteeism of your father and...
Hold on, wait a minute. You got a twin brother, you ain't tell me?
No, I'm not.
I'm just talking.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you know what I mean? So you could take it one of two ways. You can be a spitting image of your father who was, an absent father, or you can decide to take that energy and say, I'm gonna be a much better man than you. And so now everything I am now is gonna be because you didn't acknowledge me, because you didn't have a hand in my life. Like I'm gonna show you what I am gonna be without your name having anything to do with it. So I just chose to take that route. And I'll say the best thing that happened in that of, my father not being involved is I knew that my children will never know one day without the warmth of their father's love. And so I'll say, in that aspect, he made me a better father. I knew I would never want my children to feel the way I felt when he said what he said to me.
So did you feel like that also made you a fighter?
I think that and a bunch of other things had a lot to do with it. It definitely, rejection from my father definitely gave me all kind of, inner struggles. I had problems with authority. I had problems with, a man telling me what to do or anybody trying to, usurp authority over me for a long time. But I learned to, in time, stand up inside myself and realize that, whatever I didn't get from him, nobody's coming to save me. And so I need to man up and look at, face life head on and just deal with it. I was actually raised by my grandparents. So my mom had a very troubled path. But I will say in my life, man, I love my mom dearly, but she had her struggles. So, me and my siblings had to live with my grandparents. My mom was always a part of my life, but again, she was in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah. Now, I'm a grandparents person as well, I understand.
Yeah, but I got into martial arts because two dudes, and I definitely want to say their names, Greg Branch and Mickle Branch, Greg and Dink, lived across the street from me, man. And if anybody actually adopted a man like a real brother, they did.
Greg Branch and Mickle Branch?
Yeah, Greg, we call him Greg.
But you said something else.
Dink. Everybody calls Greg
and Dink.
Calls Mickle Dink. Yeah, Greg and Dink.
Greg and Dink.
Yeah, so they were the ones that took me to karate school when I was like 8 years old.
Okay.
And I fell in love with it. You talking about back in the day, man, where kung fu movies would come on Saturday and we would leave the house at Saturday afternoon and kick the hell out of each other because everybody was trying to imitate the guys with with the long ponytail. So I was fascinated with martial arts, but they were the ones that actually took me to a real karate school. And I would say from 8 years old until I graduated high school, I competed as a martial artist. I competed in national tournaments. I got many trophies, but. Again, boxing was just something that we just picked up in the street. And I actually got into a boxing ring for the first time in the Marine Corps.
Right.
We used to have these things called smokers. I was on the ship for a while and, I would start doing it then. So I dabbled with somebody actually teaching me to box officially.
Right.
And after the Marine Corps, I started coming to this gym.
Right.
And that was
let's stick with the Marine Corps. So how does the Marine Corps what's that like? Marine Corps and boxing, do you fight the Navy? Do you guys go to different, you know what I mean?
First of all, when you say Marine Corps, that is, in my opinion, and I would say most military people's opinion, the greatest fighting force on the face of the earth. So
we had to put that in there. All the jarheads.
Man, listen, the Marine Corps is synonymous with any type of war with battle. And so a part of basic training in Marine Corps boot camp, I went to boot camp in 1987. From 87 and before, boxing was a part of boot camp.
Right. So how did that happen? You just, I want to box? Or?
So no, for me, it was two things. One, there was a guy who boxed on the Camp Fatima boxing team in Okinawa, Japan. He was in my unit. So he was one of the first ones that had me going to the gym and dabbling around. Then there was another guy he wasn't on the boxing team in the military, but he was a pro fighter before he was a Marine.
Oh.
And his name was, I forget his real name, but he had a nickname Hurricane, like Hurricane Carter.
Oh, Hurricane,
yeah. But they called him that. And so he was another guy that just kind of mentored me, showing me little basic stuff. And so I dabbled around a little bit. Then when I went to Desert Storm, on ship, they had it was like a little makeshift ring, and we would just have little boxing matches, and that was one of the first times that I actually got in the ring and boxed. And
your first match on a Desert Storm ship.
Yeah.
You was in Desert Storm, Shawn?
I was at Desert Storm for 11 months.
Wow,
yeah, I'm a combat veteran. Yeah, combat veteran.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yep. So the first time I boxed in a ring was on the USS Vancouver on the ship. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I ever knocked a guy down with gloves on. And I remember
the first fight.
First fight. And the feeling was amazing. I was addicted. I was addicted to
told you was a one-hitter quitter.
To winning. That right hand to him right-handed. So that straight right was amazing. But anyway, that kind of gave me a taste for the sport. And when I got out of the military, I started coming to this gym. And Dave Parker, Mr. Parker was.
You trained here?
Yeah, trained here with Mr. Dave.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, a lot of guys that fought in Camden was trained by Mr. Dave. Mr. Dave was a pretty popular trainer.
Dave Parker?
Dave Parker, Mr. Dave. We called him Mr. Dave.
Is he still around?
No, Mr. Dave died years ago. Yeah, but he was the first guy that trained me. As a matter of fact, I would come the way it kind of works in the gym. You join the gym, you just kind of on your own. You know, you sign up, you register, and you just sit in the back. And if a coach sees something in you, he'll, you know, pull you. Like that's what Mr. Dave saw. He saw I was coming in every day. No coaches was really giving me mid work or nothing. I was just coming training hard every day. Right. And one day, Mr. Dave was like, I said, see, I like your combination. So we just started messing with me. Next thing you know, Mr. Dave was my coach. And my first fight, Mr. Dave worked my corner. Okay. In 11 seconds in the first round.
Knockout.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So tell me more about, like, after you knocked the guy out, how did you feel? What did that make you want to, did it make you want to be a champion? Did it make you want to continue fighting? Or it was like, that was enough, I did what I wanted to do?
First of all, to knock a guy down in a real fight, like sanctioned by USA Boxing, the first feeling is, man, you feel 10 feet tall. Like when the ref waves it off, like you feel like a Superman. It's just a great feeling. But of course, this is a sport of respect and love. So I jumped up on the rope and Mr. Dave said, man, get down from there, man. You think you beat Muhammad Ali? He said, take them gloves off and go over there and shake that guy's hand. So I learned from then, to be humble. Right. As a human being, I wouldn't have had a chance to win if he wouldn't have fought me. So I shook his hand. And so I made it a point, every time I ever won a fight, I would always show love to the guy I fought.
All right, so like that mixed up with the camaraderie and the sportsmanship, but with the aspect of Camden, like what did you feel about like adding what you wanted to represent from Camden and all the, did you think about the other fighters that came before you in Camden?
I always
you know them? I know you know quite a few.
I always had respect for the names. I mean, Badi, Kid Duran, the Camden Buzzsaw, you know what I mean? You would hear the names. Then some of the guys who didn't make it to greatness, but they were great fighters, Ali Garrett, you know what I mean? Also trained by Mr. Dave, Shondell Carrington, Block.
Block, that's the name.
Yeah, Dolly. It's a lot of guys, guys, and I ain't gonna, I don't want to name too many names. I don't want to miss nobody.
You said enough.
Yeah, but there was a lot of guys that I respected that came from Camden who boxed, and so just to be a part of the Camden boxing atmosphere, you know what I mean. I felt good to just throw my hat in the ring.
R.I.P. Block. He was one of the guys that really I looked up to coming up, and was a very good character, and going too soon.
Yeah. So as a matter of fact, I first met him at Riverfront, where I actually first met Gene at. He don't remember me, but I remember him.
Yeah, Gene.
One
How
thing
did that go?
So one thing you pick up on so I was a correction officer for 25 years. I started at Riverfront for 15 years, and then I transferred to Bordentown for my last.
Before we go there, what was your record as far as when you was just like boxing under?
I didn't have many. As a matter of fact, I only had 4 sanctioned bouts.
Right. Yeah.
And so my record was 4 fights, 4 knockouts.
4-0.
4-0. Yep. As a matter of fact, I only missed, but again, I didn't have a whole bunch of fights. But I could say I only made it to the second round in one of them. Most of them were first round. I made to the second round in only one fight, which I got a stop.
All right, well, then tell me something. You went 4-0, 3 knockouts, first round. Why did you not?
No, 4 fights, 4 knockouts. I only made it to the second round.
4 now. Oh, okay, yeah.
3 was in the first round.
Thanks for correcting me. I don't want no smoke. I don't want to get knocked out in the first round here. But so why did that not, or did it push you to want to do more?
I'll say
heck of a start.
So let me say this, and I'll say for hundreds of boys in Camden, in Newark, in New York, and any hood in the world, if you want to box, but it's something about the streets, it's something about life that pulls a lot of guys out of the ring. For me, it wasn't necessarily the streets, it was family. I started a family, and it's hard to feed yourself. I was already a correction officer, so I already had a job.
You were boxing.
Yeah. Right. So when I had my bouts, so at a certain point, it was like I had to focus more on work and family, and so I kind of drifted away from the dream of ever being, a professional fighter. Yeah. But I'll say for a lot of these kids, it's hard to feed yourself until you can make big money fights. So a lot of these kids, they got to work. Some of them will do dumb stuff to get a little money until they can make it in boxing. A lot of these guys hustle. I mean, they do a little 1-2 in the street, try to keep time in the ring. But again, a lot of guys, man, the streets end up pulling them out of the gym. Yeah. So the first time I ever saw Gene, I was a rookie officer at Riverfront, right. And he was on Riverfront. Actually had a very decent boxing team. I forget what year they stopped boxing, but they would have boxing teams where they would travel. So we would bring the team from Riverfront would go to Trenton State Prison or go to Rahway. I know like the Trenton State Prison team, there was a max. They couldn't travel, so you had to go to Trenton.
Go in there.
Bordentown actually had a very good boxing team, and I would assume that was because of youth. That's like a youth facility from 18 to 28.
So you was like a part of like the unit that sort of like traveled and
yeah. So that was like that wasn't a job title per se. But if you were like an extra officer, they would call a GA or a general assignment. They would send a GA to travel with the team.
Did you ever see Bernard Hopkins by any chance? Because he fought a lot in prison.
No. I
never saw. Must have been in that span.
I never saw Bernard. No, I never saw.
He fought at Graterford.
Yeah, and it was Jersey, so it was. It would just be Jersey jails, so it wouldn't be Pennsylvania jails. Yeah, okay. He was in Pennsylvania.
Okay. So like knowing that experience and so you was connected somehow.
I've made some strong friendships with a lot of guys, especially when I got to Bordentown. So I kind of explain that. When I was in Riverfront, when I got to Riverfront, I was 24. Mm-hmm. So I was really a boy in a jail full of men. Okay. Like a lot of guys in Riverfront were on the tail end of like life sentences. That's a medium security, so they already been to Trenton State, Rahway, so they come there to finish up. So I was a boy in a jail full of men, so I learned fast. And I did that for 15 years. Then I ended up in Bordentown, which is a youth facility. So now I'm 35, 40-year-old man in a jail full of boys. And so what I saw,
opposite.
Yeah. So what I saw when I got to Bordentown, man, it broke my heart just to see the mindset, the mentality of these young fellas, man. And I was fortunate to work in the mailroom, so I was isolated from a lot of stuff in the tiers and in the units. Yeah. So I would get guys that work for me in the mailroom, man, and we were separate. Once that mailroom door closed, we weren't in Bordentown. I would call it my clandestine university. Man, I had them guys I had 10 books that black men should read. I had them reading that. We would do like spoken word on Saturdays. You know what I mean? I would get food from the mess hall and let them chill out, and I had to eat on the tier and stuff like that. But really, man, I was just pouring into them brothers, man. It was a lot of guys, mostly from Newark and Camden, that was in Bordentown. Yeah. And from that, man, I've got guys that got parole, man. They've written books, gotten degrees. Some of them, they'll come here and visit. So I could say, man, I had an opportunity, man, to pour into a lot of brothers that. Real quick story. I'm working in the mailroom, right? And outside, across the hall from the mailroom is the canteen area. And canteen is when they take their state pay and buy their little soups and chips and food and
commissary.
It's commissary. So I forget what a max bag might be like 40, 50 bucks. I don't remember the amount. But to get a max bag, you were a somebody. But you felt like a nobody if you couldn't afford to get a max bag, which is ridiculous because you spending money on overpriced, unhealthy food. Yeah. But you just to come back. Yeah. So it's just a clear bag. So to come back from canteen with a big bag draped over your shoulder, you was a somebody. If you came back with that little bag, we only got like one deodorant and one pack of
lollipop.
Yeah. So this guy felt so bad that he could not afford to get a max canteen bag. Now, I could hear him talking outside of my door, but he don't know I'm in the mailroom. This kid said, man, when I go home, I'm going to hit them streets, man, and stack my bread so much that when I come back, I'm going to max out every canteen. So basically what the young man was saying, when I get out, I'm going to hustle, sell drugs, so I can save my money, that when I come back, so I could be somebody. Yeah. And man, that broke my heart. Like, man,
it's not funny, but
yeah. So man, to me, I felt like, and that wasn't unusual. That mindset,
mentality,
that mentality. So man, I made it my personal mission, man, to change the mindset of a lot of them brothers, man, that I could reach.
I'll touch on like maybe one more thing, and that's you deal with the men's group. in
Yeah.
the day. So, and they're older guys, per se,
All senior
seniors.
citizens. All senior citizens.
And so how do they, how do they accept you and embrace you as far as, do they talk about boxing? What do they talk about?
So for me to be a 55-year-old man going into a group of senior citizen men, for me to actually facilitate that conversation it's a strange situation because, these guys are my father's age. Who am I to tell them about life? But it started out because in the seniors group, they got a tight-knit group of seniors in the city.
Right.
One of them committed suicide. And so they wanted to have a program and outlet where these men can just come and talk.
Right.
And so I don't know how they picked me to facilitate the conversations. But at any rate, man, what that is what I call a symbiotic relationship. This is a relationship where I need them as much as they need me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for that to work, we have to realize, man, that we are all in this together. I'm a younger man. I need y'all to pour into me. Right. But you can learn something from anybody. And so I let them pick the topics. And, we just all go around and tell, put our piece into the topic. But one thing I have learned from the military, from the prison, especially in the prison system, stories, man, hearing people's stories is therapeutic. And so when these guys start to tell, stuff they've been through, a lot of these guys were, they went through the Jim Crow era, through civil rights eras, and experienced a lot. And I hear their stories, man. And even though I'm here to help them, I'm getting a lot of healing from hearing how they overcame their struggles. Right. And so, I'm not as old as they are, but I lived a lot of life. Right. And so I share, being open and transparent with them. Right. It's just us telling our stories, man. And somehow that in and of itself, there's just like a camaraderie in the group. Right. Just an openness that to say, we're not going to go out of here and tell each other's business. Yeah, sure. We build a bond. We build a bond, and everybody's been through some struggles. So I really enjoy talking to those brothers, man. Right. I learn a lot from them, and I hope they get a lot. They seem to appreciate it. They show up.
I'm sure
every
they
other
do.
Tuesday.
I mean, I enjoy talking with you on a regular basis, and I enjoyed talking with you today because it was about sharing the story. And it's about the community of Camden, and a lot of things people probably would have learned about you today. Maybe they know you, but they might learn more about you today. Also, you're a deacon at the church.
I'm the chairman of the deacon board at Kent Avenue Baptist Church, oldest Black Baptist church in the state of New Jersey. Yeah. So, and again, I'll say in that, I take advantage of the opportunity to, and again, I don't push my religion over anybody else's. I believe in Jesus Christ. But whatever you believe in, if it makes you a better human being, sure. if it prevents you from breaking in my house at 2:00 in the morning, by all means do that. In my situation, I feel like the greatest opportunity I get to preach Jesus Christ or preach what I believe is the way I live in front of these young men here. So I feel like I'm preaching a sermon every day, but it's not with words. It's the way I show them love. It's the way I show them manhood. It's the way I show them dignity as a human being. And so this is not just my job. This is also my ministry, because a lot of these boys will never go into a church, but I could show them love right here in this gym.
And this is also the point of this conversation. It's called Behind the Gloves for a reason, to show that we're talking about boxing, but we're talking about something much more, just more of a community builder and getting to know the people in your community and what they do and what they stand for, even more than boxing. I appreciate you coming on today.
Oh man,
Shawn,
my pleasure.
Butler, and
much love.
Again,
bro.
Another great episode.
Thank you. Do this again.
Yep.